Hi guys, and welcome to a new episode of A Dog's Soul. I'm Anita, I'm your host and a professional dog trainer, and today we're gonna talk about expectations. First, yours, second, your dog's. So stay tuned and have fun. Hi again! So, this is an exciting one, I think, for most of you, because we all have our expectations, and maybe your expectations haven't been fulfilled yet, or have changed completely. I would love for you to comment with your previous expectations and your current ones. If they match, if they don't match, they have changed, and if so, how? But for now, let's just say you expected something from getting a dog. Maybe you were thinking, oh, if I have a dog, I will be more social, or we can take long walks and hikes and go to funny places and meet other dogs and play with them and meet other dog owners, and that would be so great because it would be easy to talk to them because you have something in common and stuff like that. Or maybe you wanted to have a friend to live with you and to cuddle with you and to be by your side whenever you're feeling a little down, something like that. And maybe you expected there would be no training necessary because you get either an easy dog or a fully grown dog from the shelter, and he will have his character. And of course you will pick a dog who fits your lifestyle, and therefore there's no training needed. And if so, it would be something very easy because you're dedicated and everything will be so much better as soon as you get your dog. And of course, those are such lovely and sweet expectations, and I had them all in the beginning before my first dog moved in. And yeah, I did the research. I tried to find a good rescue organization and pick a dog who fits my lifestyle, and I met him first, and yeah, I tried to get one that's fine with the cat and who can live next to school, because I was living next to school in the city, in a huge city, so he should be fine with that, of course. And I want to just take him with me wherever I go, so he should have been my best friend. And yeah, well, the only thing that really matched those expectations were that he would become my best friend, and he was kind of fine with the cat, but that was it. He was absolutely terrified of kids, even though he was living with a young child in the foster home, or so they told me. Turns out that child only came to visit, and the dog wasn't fine with that either. But alright. He was terrified of other dogs, he was terrified of people and grass and insects and wind and whatever you could find. So, of course, I could not take the dog with me wherever I went. I had to completely change my whole lifestyle or get rid of the dog. Of course, I wouldn't do that, so I changed everything. And I would be lying if I told you that it all became easy and now he is fine and we live a happy life together where we can just go everywhere. And yeah, that's not happening. So we found a way to live a life together, a very nice life together, but it is different from everything I expected. The good thing about it is he kind of showed me what I really wanted and what I really needed, because it was exactly the same thing he needed. So peace and quiet, out of the city, and no stressful activities, or only stressful activities he can handle, or we can handle. And he made me look into training very, very, very deeply. So yeah, I became a dog trainer. Turns out I was really great. But I don't think that our life or my life would have turned out that way without him. So it was actually exactly the right dog for me. And I think I am the right person for him. Now I think that. In the beginning, I was constantly worrying about if I'm the right one for him, if there isn't somebody who could deal with his fear and his panic attacks a lot better than I could. But now I don't think that anymore. And I just want to push you into accepting your dog the way he is. And yes, you are the right person for him. Because you're worrying, because you take his feelings into consideration, because you listen to podcasts like this one. And of course you cannot change everything, or maybe you can, but there are some things you cannot change. Like for me, I couldn't change the fact that there are insects outside in summer. They just lived here. And yeah. And I cannot change the fact that there's grass on some paths. So it's like that. But what we can change is what we expect. And I'm sure you have already done that, or you're about to do that. And don't worry, only because something's different doesn't mean it's worse. Very often we change some things and we're a little hesitant about it and reluctant about it. But as soon as they're different, they feel kind of nice. And what I'm saying is, don't be too afraid of change. Of course, it's scary. Everything new is scary because you don't know what to expect. But try to look at it open-minded. And if you have a dog who cannot cope with your lifestyle and you're not able to change anything, get a trainer. Get a trainer who is specialized in whatever your dog needs and talk to him about it. Sometimes a look from the outside reveals a lot we cannot see because we're too involved. And sometimes you can just assess your lifestyle and your situation and try to find something that makes your dog more comfortable, and something very little could go a long way. So don't be scared of that. And of course, I want to talk about the dog's expectations as well. Yes, I think our dogs have expectations. And very often, as well as with us, those are learned things. So whenever your dog hears a marker signal, for example, he expects a reward. And that depends on what you have been using. So if you're alternating rewards, your dog might expect a reward, but he doesn't know what kind. So he will be surprised and it keeps him guessing. If you only use food, he will expect food. And if you work with your dog on situations that are kind of difficult for him and you start building a ritual, your dog will expect every step of the ritual. Like for staying home alone, for example, that's a very ritualized event. So whenever you leave your dog alone, you go through the same ritual and your dog will expect exactly the same thing. And of course, he will also expect you coming back. And this is what makes fear go away. He knows what to expect. And he knows how to handle a situation because he knows what happens next. And therefore he is no longer afraid or less afraid. Of course, that only works if the expectations are positive and he's not afraid of the next thing that will happen. Like people who work with leash corrections, so tugging on the leash really hard and hurting the dog in the neck. Whenever the dog does something and he knows there will be a tug, of course he will be more afraid because he knows pain is coming. And that's an expectation too. So maybe you have adopted a shelter dog and he is reacting fearful in some situations and you can't really explain that. He might expect punishment. And it will need time and very, very, very many positive experiences to conquer these expectations. Because, of course, negative impacts, pain, fear, something like that is just burned into the brain. And to change that, it needs time and good things happening. So whenever you see something like that in your dog, try to be very sensitive about it and try to help him overcome these things. And if you see your dog starting to expect good things, then of course you can celebrate that. And you can actually see a difference in the dog. You can see it in his face. You can see it in his eyes. You can see it in the whole body. Like a dog who is expecting positive things when visitors come. He will wiggle. The whole dog wiggles. And he is, of course, very happy about that. And that's a good thing. Of course, you have to deal with stress levels and arousal and stuff like that, of course. But you don't have to worry about your dog feeling down or scared or whatever, because you see the happiness in him. And of course, not every happiness is absolutely a good thing, because if there is addiction like feelings, it's not positive. Like with ball junkies, they cannot stop and their adrenaline level is just too high and it's like an addiction, and that's not good, of course. But the dog's feeling happy while he's chasing ball. But for other things like dog encounters, let's say your dog may be leash reactive and he sees another dog, and before you start training, his expectations are, oh my god, that dog will come closer and closer and closer and I will feel uncomfortable. And after you do a very nice training, your dog's expectations will change to something like, oh, there's another dog. Oh, great, my human will do something very funny with me and this is going to be awesome. So I'm gonna turn around and then the fun part starts. And of course we want that. So as soon as you see the dog's expectations, you can work with them or change them, depending on if they're good or bad. So try to watch your dog without staring at him, of course. Try to assess every situation where your dog is showing a behavior you find concerning and try to see what triggers the behavior and what your dog is expecting. So what's the consequence? And then you can start working with your dog and change his expectations as well as your own. So as soon as you have done that, I would love for you to send me an email, a text, whatever, and tell me about your expectations or your dog's expectations. It's so great to just write that down and look at it again after some time spent with training. And I would love for you to share that with me. If you have any questions, of course, you can ask them in the comments. You can write me an email, you can write me a WhatsApp, or whatever's comfortable for you. And we'll see each other or hear each other next week. And I wish you a very nice time with your dog and training your dog and do whatever feels nice and whatever hobbies you have together. So have fun, and until next time. Bye!